Hello! Welcome to Essay Nights, the Essay Slayers. My name is Julie and I will be your instructor as we read through Reflective Journal on Classroom Activities. The article source is embedded in the video description below. Feel free to read along. Please note that you can get a custom, plagiarism-free essay for as little as $10 a page at Essay Nights. The link is in the description. Traditionally, education plays an important role in the life of every individual and whole society. It is not a secret that nowadays classroom activities may vary dramatically depending not only on the subject or teacher, as it used to be in the past, but what is more important on students. Obviously, the basic goal of teaching is not simply to provide students with some information, but it is much more significant and may be defined as the teaching of students to search information and produce knowledge independently in the course of their life. However, it is a global goal which cannot be achieved without a profound knowledge of all nuances of the teaching process and classroom's activities. This is why it is very important to analyze classroom activities, which basically include three interdependent components: input, processing and output. The latter is obviously the target component. Consequently, it is necessary to find out the extent to which it may be affected by input in processing and what other factors influence output. Speaking about classroom activities, it should be said that their high efficiency and positive results may be achieved only on the basis of practical implementation of theoretically supported knowledge concerning the process of education, psychology, and even physiology. Traditionally, the aim of any theory concerning education is to increase the efficiency of the learning process. The contemporary education system applies educational theories are widely. At the same time, it should be pointed out that basically all theories target at three basic constituent elements of the educational system, which are as follows: input, processing and output. Unquestionably, all these elements are extremely important and closely interlinked. However, before analyzing their interrelation, it is primarily necessary to briefly dwell upon each of them in order to properly understand their role and significance for the educational system at large and classroom activities. First of all, inputs are traditionally referred to the ingredients of learning. To put it in simple words, inputs are what teachers are trying to teach students, learning materials and ways of teaching. At the same time, inputs may be also defined as conditions of learning. For instance, it may be the educational level achieved by students, their social and cultural background, or more trivial ones such as atmosphere in the classroom, textbooks used in the classroom, etc. It should be pointed out that theoretically the level of inputs is unlimited, but still, it is necessary to take into consideration such important factors as the age of students, their level of development, psychological state, the situation in the family and many others. But it is obvious that when people have no input to follow, then there will be no outputs. Unlike inputs, outputs may be defined as goals, or what students actually learning for, as well as it is students learning itself. In fact, in the hierarchy of the educational system, outputs occupy probably the top place, though they cannot be achieved without two other elements of the educational system, that is inputs and processing. As for the processing, it is not less, if not to say more important than inputs, and traditionally it is defined as the teaching of material to students. In other words, it is the learning process in which learning material is delivered and taught to students. At the same item, there are different factors that affect educational process, including inputs, processing, and, naturally, outputs. Among such factors, socioeconomic status of a child is extremely important and should be taken into consideration as one of the most significant components of input. In fact, socioeconomic status, to a significant extent, defines the education of a child. What is meant here is the fact that traditionally, low socioeconomic status of a child affects negatively his/her learning, because often such children are simply deprived of a possibility to receive a good education, or to continue their education in colleges after finishing school. In this respect, it is worthy of note that lower socioeconomic status often leads to poor academic performance, and this trend is particularly strong among African American students, which in the vast majority represent lower classes. Furthermore, cultural background of students should be also taken into consideration. Basically, in a monocultural class the pacing would be easier, since the class mentality would be quite homogeneous, While in a culturally diverse class, along with certain psychological peculiarities of each student, it is also necessary to pay a lot of attention to their culture and mentality. In stark contrast, in culturally diverse classroom it is necessary to take into consideration cultural peculiarities and mentality of each student representing different ethnic or socio-cultural group. In such a situation, classroom serves as stimulus and response factor to the needs of every student. In this respect, it is worthy of note that the classroom as a stimulus is a form of input, while the final goal of education, such as getting a job after learning, is a form of output. In such a way, the correlation between input and output is obvious and it is realized by means of processing. Practically, it means that it is possible to apply the concept of rational choice here. For instance, it is possible to define some educative goal and choose the most efficient way of realization of this goal in the process of education, and finally achieve this goal as an output of learning. Thus, taking into account all above mentioned, it is possible to conclude that there are different factors that affect efficiency of learning in the classroom. In this respect, inputs, processing and outputs are of a paramount importance and cannot exist separately. This is why the inputs and processing define outputs along with such factors as socio-economic status of students and their cultural background. In such a way, it is obvious that in order to achieve positive results in education there should exist a strong link between inputs, processing and outputs, while socio-economic and cultural differences should not play the defining role in the learning process. Bibliography 1. Hofmeister, A9AYTZ2GYR. Research into Practice, Implementing Effective Teaching Strategies. Boston, Allen and Bacon, 1999. 2. Using the Let Me Learn process, to recognize and support diversity in learning. Retrieved May 13, 2006 from http://online.s.edu.au/webob/ frameset.jsp ? tab =courses &URL =/ bin / common / course.kl ? course _id =75550_1. Thank you for taking your time to listen to me. I hope you enjoyed learning about reflective journal on classroom activities as much as I did. Kindly remember that you can get a custom, plagiarism-free essay at A9AYTZ for as little as $10. The link is in the description. See you next time.